So for this week's module, we watched the YouTube video about the sun and our solar system, and it was basically just an overview of how the sun functions. And our sun is very big. In fact, it is in the top 10% of the biggest stars in the universe, because most of the other ones are red dwarfs. And then they talked about how there are different layers to the sun, even though the sun is not a solid object itself. It's more like a ball of gas with different layers around it. And in the core, temperatures are so hot that electrons are stripped away from the hydrogen and it becomes plasma. And it's basically just a dense mixture of charged particles. And if this plasma is cooled down, it becomes dark, and that's what makes sunspots. And sometimes these sunspots can be visible even without telescopes if you are wearing eye protection. And they talked about, I think the most important thing that they talked about was the idea of solar flares and coronal mass ejections. These are very important because if those hit the Earth, they can knock out our power grid and fry satellite electronics, and they can cause auroras in the North and South Poles, which that's not that bad, but knocking out our power grid is pretty bad. And they talked about how there was a very large solar flare in 1859, and if that was to hit the Earth today, it would basically cause worldwide blackouts, and it would take us many years to recover from it. And in 2012, I think is what they said, there was one that was about that size, but it ejected from a different part of the sun that was going away from the Earth. So thankfully we didn't get hit by that, but if we did, we would probably still be recovering today from that. And then how did the history of the sun probably affect life on Earth? Well, of course we need the warmth from the sun for life to exist so that our planet can actually be at a habitable temperature. So we have the current distance of the Earth from the sun to thank for that. We are in the Goldilocks zone. So I guess without the sun being in the stage of its life cycle that it is right now, life probably wouldn't be possible, at least on Earth, especially if it was further along in its life cycle where it was like a red dwarf or something. Then life probably wouldn't be possible on Earth, but maybe on a planet closer, as long as the other conditions there were right. And then obviously the sun's going to become a red giant eventually, and when that happens, Earth's pretty much just gone. So that's gonna affect life a lot because it's gonna destroy it all. So the sun is a big factor in determining whether or not life can exist on Earth.